Welcome into the Hard Count, the show that will not be changing teams contrary to what's going on right now in the sports world. Glad to have you dialed in. It is Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. Last one on the face of the planet. Fran Brown, head coach of Syracuse football, joining the show a little bit later. But we've had a lot of action here over the course of the last few days. I want to start with Ryan Grubb deciding he's going to officially now be the offensive coordinator at Alabama. The backstory there is Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer worked together a lot. He was going to come with Kalen DeBoer when he came to Tuscaloosa and got the head coaching job there. And then the Seahawks said, hey, knock, knock, you want to come back and be our OC? So he goes ahead and pivots, hits a U-turn, goes back to Seattle. And then even before Kalen DeBoer was a thought for the head coaching job at Alabama, Nick Saban, I believe, flew him out to Tuscaloosa, and there was some thought that he might be the next OC even before Kalen DeBoer got there. So Ryan Grubb takes the long way, but eventually, finally, is going to be the offensive coordinator at Alabama. And I want to start here. This just furthers the idea, when you talk about Kalen DeBoer in his first year in Tuscaloosa, that he was operating under very clunky circumstances. Like Jalen Milroe, as good as I think he was on the ground, he wasn't the right fit for Kalen DeBoer's offense in practice. Like he averaged 20 attempts a game coming into that season as a quarterback. Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb's offense, or Ryan Grubb, 'S, offense is an offense that has historically averaged right around 40 attempts a game. You had one real threat at wide receiver, and to bring this point home, you were without the Robin to your Batman, which is, of course, Ryan Grubb. Again, they've worked together a long time. There's great synergy. Most notably, most famously, he was the offensive coordinator for Washington when they made that run to play for a national title in 2023. In college football, one of the reasons that we love it, in addition to the pageantry and tradition and emotion and all those things, one of the things that I personally love about it is that it is the greatest team sport on the face of the planet. You are not equipped to achieve your ultimate goal unless everyone else on the field with you is doing their job. That's true on the field. I think it's just as true for your staff. Like the synergy between Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb, I don't want to overestimate it, but I think it's going to make a massive difference. I think having a coworker that you're in lockstep with that can be on the same page with you before you even sit down to have the offensive meeting. They're seeing the same things as you on tape, and they know what to call before you even call it. I think that matters. You look at what Alabama did last year. 4 losses. It was just a bad year by Alabama standards. 3 of those 4 losses were by 1 score. You look at what they did at Washington in 2023 when DeBoer and Grubb were together. They won 8 games by 1 score. Football's a game of details. The details with the ball shaped, how it's shaped, bounces a funny way. Oftentimes, that makes the difference. So I'm not telling you that Kalen DeBoer, now having Ryan Grubb as his offensive coordinator, if he was there a year ago, they go on and win the national title. I'm not saying that. But I am saying, with the margins as thin as they were a year ago at Bama, with all the circumstances on your roster as unideal as they were, put the cherry on top of that you got there and your roster got bodied by the portal, I think this helps things. At the very least, I think it helps things, and I think when you talk about the margins, it could make the difference for Bama in some of those close spots. So what's it going to look like? What does he bring to the table? Well, when I talk about Ryan Grubb, what gets me fired up, man, is what he does for the quarterback position right away. And you, in theory, speaking to what Jalen Milroe wasn't last year, should have a quarterback with a skill set more similar to what you want to call, a little bit more pass-happy, a little bit more, I would say, aggressive downfield vertically. Ty Simpson, Austin Mack, potentially Keelan Russell, all a little bit more in that mold. And Kalen DeBoer is a quarterback elevator, but so is Ryan Grubb. Like Michael Penix Jr., throughout his college career, had not had a year where he throws for more than 14 touchdown passes. Now, there's other extenuating circumstances within that. I totally hear you. But he gets to Washington, plays for Ryan Grubb in that system, and he goes for over 30 touchdowns both years he's in Seattle. Coincidence? I don't think so. Now, did they have great skill players for Michael Penix Jr. to throw to? Of course, but the point remains the same. Michael Penix gets with Ryan Grubb in that system and immediately has more success. I don't think that's something that just happened by chance. Jake Haener at Fresno State, playing in the NFL now. Why? Because he played in Ryan Grubb's system when he was at Fresno State. I don't think you don't just find yourself as a shoe-in to go play in the National Football League when you're at a school like Fresno State. And I love Fresno State, but I think it does deserve some attention that he had a great offensive coordinator in Ryan Grubb who elevates the quarterback play. And that's going to have to be the reality here for Alabama in the future. This is a quarterback-driven system. Yes, you want to run the football. Yes, you want to play great defense as a team, of course, but at the end of the day, in college football, with the margins, I believe, shrinking, with rosters being a little bit more comparable maybe than they have been in the past between the Alabamas of the world and everybody else, quarterback play is going to make the difference for you, especially if you find yourself in a postseason situation in the SEC championship game or in the college football playoff. Quarterback is going to make the difference for you. So now you bring in an offensive coordinator in Ryan Grubb, who on paper and given his track record has a pretty high success rate with that position. So when you look at what Bama was last year, it's kind of like when you first move into a new place. It's all over the place. It's messy. You're using cardboard boxes as dinner tables. You have your TV stand on the floor. You have no bed frame for your mattress. It's very unsettled. It's very clunky. That was Bama last year for Kalen DeBoer. When we went and talked to him out in Tuscaloosa for spring football, he had just gotten back from buying his house. He's still figuring out where to live. Oh, by the way, what I just said, your roster was bodied by the portal. You're trying to craft a new offense without your go-to offensive coordinator on your staff, without a quarterback that fits your prototypical system. You're trying to figure out what the SEC is as a whole. Oh, by the way, sprinkle on that the pressure that comes with the script A and being the head coach at Alabama, following the greatest of all time. There's a lot there. Very unsettled. So now if you're Alabama, though, going into year two, you kind of got a little bit more of your situation ironed out. Not saying it's perfect, but it's a lot more ironed out than it was. Now the dish is finally taken out of those boxes and put into the cupboards, probably both literally and metaphorically if you're Kalen DeBoer. Now you have your alarm clock actually plugged in on a nightstand as opposed to sitting next to your mattress on the floor. There's a lot more in place here for Bama. And so while that's encouraging for Bama fans, and it should be, it also comes with a fair amount of expectations. Like, you don't need any more expectations around what that football program is in Tuscaloosa. It comes with it, just by nature of the fan base and the brand and all that. But now with having the offensive coordinator that you've had success with in the past, if I'm a fan at Alabama, I say, okay, that was the guy that you got to a national title with. You are the guy that has this ridiculous record as a head coach of 104-12. We're going to start expecting some real results here. And I'll tell you, that's the fan base's approach. Kalen DeBoer feels the same way. Kalen DeBoer is not here sitting saying, man, can we just finish third in the SEC? That'd be a great year. No, I promise you, he's not okay with what happened last year. So is it on Nick Sheridan, the offensive coordinator from a year ago, that they didn't have success? I'm not saying that as a first-time play caller. But to have a guy who you're more synced up with, when you get into meetings, he's seeing the same thing as you, he's feeling the same thing as you, he sees the same things on tape. Like, that matters a lot, because when we're on the same page and we can maximize our system, good things happen. Good things happening in the details wins you football games, and it's going to win football games for Alabama here going forward. So pressure is privilege. There's a lot of pressure at Bama, and for Kalen DeBoer now having Ryan Grubb, the pressure is only dialed up. And I can't wait to see what it looks like. Now, speaking of seeing what things are going to look like here, this isn't a segment, but I just wanted to get this thought off the top of the head. I'm very curious to see what spring games look like here going forward. Matt Rule made a little bit of news this week talking about how he believes Nebraska's spring game could look a little bit different because of the fact that they don't really want, opposing coaches or scouting departments watching their spring game broadcast and saying, hey, who's that kid running with the twos at Nebraska? Maybe we could tamper a little bit post-spring portal and get them on our roster and have some success. I hear that as a college football sicko, and probably as college football sickos for y'all watching this show. I hope we still get spring games. We do spring game reactions on this show. But that's why we can't have nice things anymore. Unfortunate. Make sure you're dialed in and subscribed if you haven't already. College football year-round. Y'all know the deal. That y'all have been around here with us. That the offseason is not a time for us to take our foot off the gas. So onward we go. What's next for Ryan Day at Ohio State? I'm not talking about the coordinator hires. That's not what I'm getting at here. Ohio State has lost a lot in the course of the last few weeks since winning the national championship. Let's start here. Both coordinators are gone. Chip Kelly to the Raiders, Jim Knowles to Penn State. Your offensive line coach, Justin Fry, he's gone to the NFL. Your quarterback, Will Howard, Emeka Egbuka, he's gone. Several leaders on your defense from Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau, both running backs. There's a lot that's left the building that helped hoist that national title trophy at Ohio State January 20th in Atlanta. I think some folks will see what's happening and say, see, Ohio State, it's bad. It's a bad deal out there. It's a bad deal. They won their national title, and that thing's imploding from the inside, which I guess is what imploding means. And this is tough. It's never great to lose both coordinators and all that you lost the NFL draft. But would you rather have this situation if you're an Ohio State fan, where you're saying, gosh, dang, we got to hire some new coordinators? Or would you rather be in the position you were a year ago, saying, I wonder if we can convince some of these guys that have a chance to go pro to come back, and then we can go out and hire some other coordinators or hire some other coaches or retool this whole situation to get us over the hump to win a national championship? Y'all, it worked. Where you were a year ago to where you are now, the all-in mentality, retaining the roster, hiring Chip Kelly, it all worked. Everyone that's pivoted away from Ohio State, whether it be to the draft or graduation or to a different job, they're leaving with a national title ring on their finger. It worked. We said this in a reaction video when Chip Kelly took the job for the Raiders to be their offensive coordinator. This is what happens when you win a national title. This is the price of success. And Ohio State fans know that, but I just think for the folks that are throwing stones from the outside looking in at Ohio State saying, what's going on over there? What's going on over there is people see what Ohio State did this past season and want to try to get themselves a piece of that magic out there in Columbus to bring back to their situation to help them be successful. That's all it is, dude. That's all it is. It's not Chip Kelly being unhappy. The Jim Knowles thing went how it went, and Penn State went to bat and got him, and that's a whole other story in itself. But like this isn't like Ohio State's down bad. They just had success. So therefore, in modern college football, when you have success, people want to bring you in. Same thing in life. If you do a good job at your job, somebody else that has a bigger job for you, whether it be your company or somewhere else, will pay you more to pivot to that job or that company. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. And so looking to the future here for Ohio State, the thing that I think is maybe getting lost in the sauce of all this is we know who Ryan Day is now. As a coach, we do. The Michigan thing is a whole other discussion that we've had many times on this show and we'll have in the future. But Ryan Day as a coach is a good freaking coach. 70-10, 2 Big Ten titles, national title, mic drop. Yeah, but that roster was so good. Yeah, the roster was so good. Is there a reason why they can't still have a great roster here in the next couple of seasons in Columbus? Is there a reason why they won't have a great roster this year? Last time I checked, Julian is saying he can sling it a little bit. He was a 5-star cat. Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs, they both still exist. Sonny Styles, he's back. Davidson Igbendosen, starting quarter for you on the national title team, he's back. There's a lot of pieces that are still back here with a very capable head coach. And so the difference now for Ryan Day moving forward and the difference of how we're going to remember him from this year forward is how does he choose to adapt? You can have a great storybook season. They can make you a great movie about you and say Ohio State won the national title in 2024. Curtain drops, roll credits. What are they going to say, though, when they do the Where Are They Now segment after those movies get made? Ryan Day went on to win 3 more national titles at Ohio State. Will they say that, or will they say Ryan Day coached the next 3 years at Ohio State, he then pivoted to the NFL? I don't know which storyline is more likely. I don't know that we're necessarily looking at just those being our only 2 doors for Ryan Day. But the point being here, adaptation is what gets you a statue in front of your stadium. Now, I got Ohio State fans in the mentions, I'm sure, saying as we say that out loud, well, beating Michigan gets you statues. I hear that. I think that's in the plans too. But we said this in the reaction video for Chip Kelly being hired. Nick Saban is the greatest of all time because from era to era, playoff era, BCS era, didn't matter. He adapted with the game and got the same level results. Hey, the offensive flow of things is changing in college football. Changes defensive personnel. We're big. We got to get faster. Hey, we got to find a way to score with these guys because they're still scoring a lot of points. Okay, bring in Sarkisian, bring in Kiffin. Cool. They adapted. That's what great coaches, that's what great people in life do. Kirby Smart, same deal. Loses Dan Lanning, retools that defensive staff, loses a lot of production from the defensive side. They adapt. They repeat as champions. Now, Dabo's got 2 national titles to his name, and I've been very vocal that I think Clemson is actually a great purchase if you were looking for some early odds to compete for a national title in 2025, neither here nor there. But this is the issue that people have with Dabo Swinney, right? Nobody questions if Dabo Swinney is a great head coach. Everyone's questioning, well, as we move into the portal era, the NIL era, will Clemson keep up? I think they will. Again, different conversation for a different video, for a different segment, but you hear the point that I'm making. If Ryan Day can adapt now with these key pieces pivoting out of Columbus, they have every reason to still have success. What I just said a few moments ago, the roster is going to be awesome. And everyone seems to be so quick, if you're an Ohio State naysayer, $20 million roster, this and that, cool. I promise you, dude, going forward with revenue sharing, where $15 to $17 million is allocated towards football of that alleged $20 million that I think we're talking about here in this discussion, Ohio State's not going to be like begging for money going forward. Ohio State's not going to be slow to jump into the deep end of putting resources towards their football program. And so for Ryan Day, now the thing that I think is interesting is he has a proof of concept that's only going to warrant more resources. The confetti drops in Atlanta, and we said this exact same thing. I don't see a world where the powers that be financially in Columbus, Ohio, see Ryan Day win a national title and say, man, could we cut that budget a little bit and find a way to get the same results? What if we had a $17 million roster? Can we do a $15 million roster, Ryan? Could you make that work? No, they're saying, cool, we like this. You give a mouse a cookie, it's going to want some milk. You give Ohio State a national title, they're going to want 2 to 3 more. Price of admission seems to be $20 million. Let's do 25. You got Pete Nakos behind me in the war room back here that is the On3 office writing articles talking about how a $30 million roster is not that far into the future in the college football world. I wouldn't be surprised if Ohio State is one of those teams that has a $30 million roster. So if it's about resources, Ryan Day has proven now in a smallish sample size of this past season, he can make it work. So speaking to this idea of how do they adapt and how do they continue, it's not going to be about talent for Ohio State. It's not going to be about resources. It's going to be about Ryan Day making the correct moves from his roster to his staff. I'm not just talking about this year. I'm not talking about replacing a Chip Kelly or replacing a Jim Knowles. I'm talking about the next 3 to 4 years. If they do win another national title, can you adapt again? As the game ebbs and flows with styles and all those things, can you adapt and keep adapting to eventually be considered one of the better coaches, one of the best coaches in the sport, not just in a vacuum of, the 2020s, but I'm talking about like history books. We'll see what happens, but it will not be a matter of resources, will not be a matter of coaching acumen. It'll be a matter of are you willing and able to adapt from a staff and roster level, because that's what makes the GOATs the GOATs. It's been kind of a wild week, dude, with all these coordinator moves and all these coordinator hires and changes. And I was talking to Cato before the show. The weirdest part about all this, transfer portal's closed. We got people moving teams. The Luka Doncic thing is something we even contemplated putting on the, actually contemplating putting on the show because it's a college football show strictly. But like we talked about it in the office. I'm not even an NBA guy, and that shocked me. Kind of surprised Nakos didn't break that news of Luka to the portal, but it is what it is. We move on. Now, this is not a coordinator hire per se, but it's essentially a coordinator move. Brent Venables, going to be calling the defense. He says, my turn, like Michael Scott in The Office says, I'm calling the defense here next year at Oklahoma. And y'all, the defense wasn't bad last year in Norman by any stretch of the imagination. And the pushback from social media, and social media is toxic, so keep that in mind, was a little bit interesting to me. A lot of people weren't a fan of this, saying, oh, man, he must not be able to hire a great DC, or Brent Venables is coaching for his job or whatever. I'm like, I don't understand this at all. I don't understand the pushback at all. Think about it this way. If you were to do a draft, and Cato and I love doing drafts. Caden Smith's got me on a draft, so we'll do more drafts in the future. But if you were doing a draft of the top defensive minds currently in the sport of college football, where is Brent Venables getting ranked, getting drafted? What, 1, 2, depending on where you're drafting and how you feel about a Kirby Smart and so on and so forth. He's got 3 national titles to his name as a defensive coordinator. Dude knows defense. And so the one thing that I think the Twitter trolls maybe got a little bit right is you're going into a 4th year now at Oklahoma where you have 2 years that you wish had gone differently, your first year and your 3rd year. Both of those were 6-win seasons. And so people are starting to murmur, Will Ferrell style and the other guys, of, hey, I don't know if Brent Venables is the guy at Oklahoma. But what I love about this for Brent Venables is this is to me him saying, hey, I want the last shot. If we go out, if this doesn't work in Norman, I don't know if this is actually what Brent Venables is thinking, but this is what it means to me. If this doesn't work with me as the head coach here, it's not because I didn't do everything in my power and have my fingerprints all over this operation to allow us to be successful. If it goes how it goes, so be it. But it's not going to be because I wasn't taking that last shot. I'm not leaving my fate in somebody else's hands. And again, why would you not do this? With the best defensive mind, with one of the top defensive coordinators in his own right in modern college football, Why would you not call the plays? Other people do this on the offensive side. Nobody bats an eye. Kiffin does it. Sark does it, and we're cool with it. But Brent Venables wants to do it on the defensive side, and everyone's like, whoa, hey, this is weird. I don't know about what's Brent Venables is over his head. He's just taking his future into his own hands, taking his fate into his own hands. And I'm all about it. I'm all about being able to lay your head on the pillow at night, look up at the ceiling, and say, I did enough, and I'm cool with how this went. I'm cool with how this went. And Brent Venables, for better or for worse, by now calling the defense, will be able to say, I'm cool with how this went, whether he's the head coach in Norman for the next 10 years or whether things go a way that he wished they had in the near future. So that leads me to think about this when I talk about Oklahoma. I really like where Oklahoma is heading. And Sooner fans, y'all know I will shoot you straight. The last 2 years, we have nailed the record prediction. Maybe not the games, but the actual win-loss total, we have nailed it. The year after y'all won 6 games, the first year under Venables, said they'll go 10-2, they went 10-2. The next year, I said, hey, there's a lot of things for me to be nervous about here. They go 6-6. We called them to go 6-6. I like Oklahoma a lot this year. I really do. And the reason why I like them is there's just so many more things that I feel certain about compared to the year before. Like the reason why I wasn't as high in Oklahoma, and everyone's going to get in the mentions and say, well, you couldn't have predicted the injuries and this and that. Again, another discussion for another time. The reason why I wasn't so high in Oklahoma is there was a lot of things that you're kind of hoping will work out. Like we did a video in, I want to say it was the spring to late winter last year. You can go look it up, talking about context being crucial for Oklahoma here moving forward. And the context was Jackson Arnold has got to hit. The offensive line has got to hit. Defense has to play at the level you expect them to play at. You were hoping for a lot of things. There was a hypothetical situation where you stay all the way healthy and Jackson Arnold has success and the offensive line stays healthy and gels, but you found yourself having a lot of, well, hey, if this, and some of that's what this part of the year is for, but you found yourself really trying to make it work too much in your head here moving into what last season was. You were hoping for a lot of things. I don't think you're hoping for all that much in 2025 around Oklahoma. Now, the schedule is still absolutely brutal. Hear me loud and clear. It's an absolute war daddy. But in terms of the certainties, I feel like there's a pretty high floor for Oklahoma. Like, who's calling the defense? One of the best defensive minds in the sport? Okay, cool. Feel good about that. Who's in charge of the offense? A quarterback and an offensive coordinator that have shown they are able to have success at a high level together from what they did at Washington State and John Mateer and what he brings to the table. It's not like they're without question marks as an entire team. And again, that's where we are right now in the sport in terms of this time of year. Everyone's got question marks. But it's a lot less of a we'll see if she floats sort of vibe to Oklahoma. So I'm really excited about them in the future. You look at the schedule, and I mentioned the schedule being brutal. Michigan early on in the year, at Tennessee, at South Carolina, at Alabama. I don't see as many games that I would just pencil in for Oklahoma as like yep, they're definitely outmatched there. Yep, they're definitely in a tough spot there. I know what John Mateer is. I know who Brent Venables is. We'll see how it all translates. But I love this move from Brent Venables, saying I'm calling my shot. I'm making sure that I take the shot, and I have high standards here. This is his words. He said, I have high standards, and essentially paraphrasing said, I want to make sure we meet those standards. So for Oklahoma, there's a lot to be excited about. There's a lot that I like about them going forward. I love the steady hands on the wheel from Arbuckle to Mateer to Venables, and it's the SEC, so it's going to be brutal, but I still think that move paired with who they have on the offensive side next year, there's a lot more reason for optimism and a lot more certainty around optimism and confidence and positive things happening for Oklahoma going into 2025. I love that move from Venables. So we're about to get to Fran Brown here in a matter of moments, and y'all, he was phenomenal. Like, whenever we sit down to do these conversations with these coaches, they're busy people. We know they probably only have 10, maybe 15 minutes. I had a full sheet of topics that I wanted to get through with him. We touched on maybe a quarter of them, not because he was long-winded, because the conversation took different turns. He's talking about coaching hard in the portal era. He's talking about Kyle McCord and recruiting him. He's talking about his future at Syracuse and things of that nature. So it's a great conversation. Excited for y'all to hear that here in a matter of moments. But before we get to that sit-down conversation, I want to get to another, iconic's a strong word, but pretty notable sit-down interview that happened over the course of, I guess it was the end of last week. Arch Manning sits down with Marty Smith, and there was a lot there. There's a lot there from the optics of it, a lot there from what he unpacked, but we'll kind of restart this to have a better segment for our video. Let's talk about Arch Manning and his era as the starting quarterback now happening in Austin going into 2025, did a sit-down interview with ESPN's Marty Smith. I want us to react to the interview. I want us to have some thoughts around the Arch Madness in general, and I want us to talk about how he's going to look here going into 2025. Before we do that, college football sickos, love y'all, man. I know it's the sickos dialed in right now because we're sitting here in February. I said that at the top of this full-length show, top of this podcast. Just subscribe. All I'm asking. Doesn't cost you a thing. Helps us to help you, and it allows us to be even stronger here moving into this winter and spring part of the college football calendar. So some thoughts on the interview. Marty Smith is a dog. That's first off. I mean, I could listen to that dude just talk about anything, and it would sound cool. Arch seems super normal. Like for a guy whose last name is Manning, and a guy who's doing a sit-down interview after only starting a couple games in college football, seems like he's got a pretty good head on his shoulders. I was really encouraged by the way that he answered questions around what he wanted to do next year. Said he wanted to win a national championship. Didn't mention any personal accolades. Okay, check the box. Cool. Right answer there. Talked about the attention he's gotten, how he handles that, and what he thinks about it. And he's like, I haven't really done anything. Feels kind of undeserved. Cool. Check that box. I love that. Just came across very likable to me when you talk about Arch Manning. Now, I totally agree that this felt very PR-ish when it comes to this discussion in general. Pretty obvious that Red Bull in the NIL game is crushing it. He's rocking a Red Bull hat during that interview. Looks like he's about to be dialed in for a Formula One race. Somebody said on Twitter he looks like Ryan Sheckler, and that's a tough one to unsee. It also looks like the set of this interview, I don't know where it was, so I apologize if this is your local high school or whoever, looks kind of like a TV set of what was supposed to be like a high school football locker room. If you go back and look at that, it's pretty hilarious. So yeah, I totally get this wasn't something that they were trying to get Arch to say something crazy, but overall, with how you present yourself, people are actually pretty smart when they view stuff like this, I think. And I think if Arch was being fake or being disingenuous with some of these answers, we'd be able to see right through it. So the takeaway for me is Arch Manning is likable, clearly making a bag from Red Bull because that's a big-time move by them on the NIL front. So I'm all here for that. But as I got further and further away from this discussion, it started to get the gears turning around how we are about to enter into the Arch extravaganza of media coverage. And I have two thoughts. One, brace for impact. Two, Twitter is not real life. Let's start with brace for impact. The Arch Manning content, the storm that is about to be shoved down all of our throats, whether we like it or not. Now, hand up, we're going to do every bit of our part on this program to be appropriate and fair and honest and fun in our coverage of Arch Manning. We're going to try to not overdo it in that sense, but the reason why this is going to be crazy is the same deal was crazy for Tebow mania and the Johnny Manziel madness. They're interesting people. Like outside of college football as a logo and a brand, granted he plays for one of the biggest brands in the sport at Texas, Arch is super interesting. Last name is Manning. Yeah, that's going to move the needle for some folks. And there's a lot of companies out here that got to pay the bills. So there's going to be a hefty amount of Arch Manning coverage. So again, brace for impact is my first thought there. There's going to be a lot of it. Let's do our best to not be too aggravated by it. Now, I realize that that's asking a lot, but like Arch isn't asking for all the coverage that he's getting. Now, he agreed to do the sit-down interview, but I mean, in general, when it's day 45 of us comparing Arch Manning to some ridiculous NFL quarterback, is Arch Manning the next Tom Brady? Dude, I don't know. He's not asking for those topics to be thrown out. So that's the first thought, brace for impact. The second, Twitter is not real life. And we've seen a lot of this already, saw this through his recruitment, but people on the Arch Manning conversation spectrum, there's not a whole lot of the level-headed majority that gets to have the megaphone on Twitter. The thoughts are, one, he's going to be the greatest of all time. He's going to be the greatest to ever lace him up in college football, period. Or it's only his last name. It's all his last name. That's the only reason why he's getting love and what have you. Let's start with the first thought. He's the greatest of all time. He's going to be this, he's going to be that. Like, I don't know. Nobody knows. I think he was worth his 5-star rating. I think he's got all the tools to be one of the better quarterbacks in college football this year. More on that in a second. But there's a company out there, and I won't mention the name, there's a company out there that put out a mock draft if all underclassmen were eligible for the draft. I got Arch Manning going number 1 overall. Don't be stupid. Just don't be an idiot. I don't think we're asking too much there. And if this person that puts that mock draft together genuinely believes that, I don't know who it was for the record, then like more power to you. But when you got Arch Manning at number 1, he started a couple of games, and you got Abdul Carter at something like 7, just like, come on. Let's all just be adults about this here. I understand the game. I understand that we got to make some money, this, that, the other. Like, let's have some decency about us. Is he going to be good? I think so. Would he go number 1 in this year's draft? I don't know, dude. Probably not. I don't really think that's a fair thing to levy on my guy when it comes to expectations. The other thought, it's only his last name. That's the only reason he was a 5-star, the only reason he's this, he's that, he's the other. Kirby Smart and Nick Saban both wanted Arch Manning on their football team. You think those dudes waste their own time, let alone a roster spot? I don't think so. That in itself should dispel any narrative. Oh, by the way, the fact that we have seen him play now in small doses, and he's looked pretty good. Looked like he belongs on the field at the very least. At best, looks like it's a guy that's a high-profile player within the context of the competition he's playing against. I want to pull up this stat here, and I have my laptop next to me. It's asleep, so bear with me for a second. If it was truly about the last name, Arch is not the first player to have a famous dad and go play college sports. But Arch Manning is, from this data, one of the only players to have a 5-star rating. Let's start here. Joe Montana's son, Nick Montana, 3-star recruit. LeBron James' son, Bronny James, 4-star recruit. Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time, his son, Marcus Jordan, 3-star recruit. Now, I get Peyton Manning is not Arch's dad and Eli's not Arch's dad, but still, if it was about the last name Manning, these services, from what I can gather, don't care all that much. You got Michael Jordan's son being a 3-star. It can't matter that much. So, again, is he going to be the greatest of all time? We'll see. It's pretty early on in this discussion to go that far. But is it just his last name? No. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So the way that I kind of come away from this discussion is like, let's develop our own opinions on this. Let's let it bake a little bit. This stuff is really hard. Stuff is really difficult. To play quarterback in the SEC at one of the most recognizable and prominent brands in the sport, let alone sports in general, let's give Arch a little bit of runway to get it figured out. Now, I do think he's going to benefit a lot from having sat behind a Quinn Ewers to get comfortable in an offense, to be in a college weight room, to get all those reps against a college defense. I think that's going to benefit him and allow him to have more success than if he had played early. But if he's not the next great Manning by October, that's okay. It's his first year being a starting quarterback as the guy. I understand he started some games, but as the guy, he's not a bust if he throws a couple of picks the first game against Ohio State in the shoe. Yeah, it might take a second. It might take a second. Now, I do think, as much as I'm trying to temper expectations, I think he's going to be really good. Like, I think from a skill set perspective, he fits Texas as a roster and what they are right now offensively better than what Quinn Ewers was. Hear me clearly. I don't think that he should have played last year, but from a fit perspective with what he does running the football, I think he fits better than what Quinn Ewers was. Because Texas, they still have weapons on the perimeter. Ryan Wingo's going to be a stud. DeAndre Moore's a dog. I'm sure Texas will still have their weapons. But Texas, with how they're built, in my estimation, they're a lot more Toyota RAV4 Hummer than they are Ferrari. They're a lot more run the freaking ball, punch you in the mouth, play good defense. You add a mobile quarterback to that mix, where a defense has to worry about that on the RPO, in addition to the weapons I mentioned, in addition to, you would hope, a CJ Baxter, if he can get back healthy, a Trey Wisner, a Jarrett Gibson. That's the strength of the Texas offense. And so to have a capable passer as Arch Manning and to have his legs baked in there with his physical traits, I think that's going to be really exciting. I think that's going to make for a better overall rhythm, more complementary system offensively for Texas here going forward. Kind of feels Notre Dame-ish, to be real with you. Like, I don't think Arch Manning is Riley Leonard as a comp, but in terms of how they could use him, in terms of how Texas could decide to run their offense, it could be that flavor. I'm just saying, with how good they're going to be defensively and with who they have in the backfield and what Arch does with his legs, could be very similar to an Arch Manning. So to wrap this thing up, is the Arch content and hype going to be overdone? Absolutely. If he throws a couple of picks early in the year and he's not looking like he's the next greatest quarterback in the world as of December or I guess even early end of September, then does that mean he's a bust? No. Takes time. Does he have all the tools, all the pedigree, all the potential to be one of the best quarterbacks in college football next year? I believe so. So let's try and hold our cards a little bit closely on opinions for at least the first few games. Let's give it some time. I think he's going to be great. I mean, we're going to do a top 10 quarterback projection here at some point during the offseason, and we're going to have to decide what to do with Arch Manning if he's in that top 10. But I don't think it's a discussion we have to be so extreme on either side or the other, contrary to what Twitter would try to tell you from a Dov Kleiman and a ML Football and a NFL Rookie Watch and all those other aggregators. No fault of their own. So we're going to finish up here. I'm going to throw it to our Fran Brown conversation. We cover a lot of great stuff from what I've already mentioned, the world that college football is right now for throwback coaches, him saying he's staying at Syracuse for life. Made you want to be a better person, made you want to run through a brick wall. Our conversation with Fran Brown. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. For Cato on the ones and twos, for myself, JD PicKell, here is the man running Syracuse football, our conversation with Coach Brown. Joining us now, the head coach of Syracuse football, Coach Fran Brown. Coach, I got to start with this because anyone that owns social media has seen your post-game interviews. You're talking about after you win a football game, you're getting washed. For those that don't know, your whole routine, if you will, of if we don't win a football game, I'm not showering. Was that something we started in like youth sports? Is that something that we've done since getting the job at Syracuse? Like, what's the origin story there?
I mean, really, like since high school, I played quarterback, so I just took everything personal. And like when you lose, you just kind of sitting there, just like messed up. So like, just to be just sad. Just be like upset. You work the whole week to win the game, right? And mission is not accomplished. So I don't know how everybody else is. Mission accomplished. They just kind of move on fast. I kind of dwell on what happened. I was staying trying to know about it. Just kind of really, I just call it like soaking in your sorrows. And then I lock in the next morning. I still brush my teeth and things like that. But then the next morning, it's like I understood why it will happen. And then I just move on from there, right? So it's just really that day of it, but then it's like the next day, like, okay, let me lock in. But I don't know about you, but like, I coach football to win a championship, right? I played football everywhere I went to go win a championship. So if you lose a game, it's almost getting you close to not being able to win a championship, right? So I just like make sure that I push at that and I dominate that. And then you work your butt off all week, right? I don't BS at all. Nothing I do, I take lightly. I go full speed and full tilt at everything. I give everything you got. So, like, to lose, for me, it hurts, right? Like, it's not just, okay, well, you get the next one. Like, I just can't say that fast. Get the next one. Like, man, I don't really want to be around nobody that just, hey, man, we did our best. Let's move on. Like, what? I got you. Like, I'm saying, I'm mad. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm heated. I'm mad, right? Now, as a coach, it's not like I'm playing anyway, right? I'm not playing, so I mean, it's not like I'm freaking. He stinks. I ain't break a 70-yard touchdown or chase nobody down or do any of that. But it was just something like that. What I mean? I feel like, hey, you win, you deserve to be washed, fresh. Get out there, go handle your business, right? So, winners get washed.
We're here for it. I mean, that would be something we have to do over here on our show. Like, hey, bad show, no showers. We're doing it
like
for training action,
right? Y'all competitor, whoever it is you going, they done got some content before y'all. They done hit that 2 weeks in a row. You're not happy about that, correct?
100%. No, it's all competition, 100%.
100%. So, like, I think when most people don't feel that way or think that way, do you really want to work with them? Like, how competitive are they, right? Everything is competition. Everything you do is competition. And it's been like that since we was younger, right? When we always in like 5th, 6th grade, when we started looking at young ladies, right? You wanted the cutest one. Of course you wanted, and you wanted to figure out which one of y'all she liked, right? And that was competition. And then it was different things as you started to play. You wanted to be the best, right? You did. I just want to be on a team. It's 9 of us. I hope to be 8th. You know what I'm saying? I want to be number 1. Like, I want to be the best at everything that I do and try to put my name on. And if I'm not, of course, yes, I work my butt off to figure out why, or I want to learn and know why he beat me. Why was he better than me? What made that happen that way? And there were a few times that we lost this year, I felt as though I personally didn't put my players in a position to just go take it. You know what I'm saying?
1000%. No, I mean, I think everyone that got to see rather y'all play ball this year, it felt like your team takes on your persona of competitive, relentless, all those things. When it comes to taking that Syracuse job, though, in the first place, rewinding the tape a little bit, what made Syracuse the right spot for you? Because from where I'm sitting, I'm saying, okay, good spot at Georgia. Would assume you're going to have success here going forward. What made Syracuse the right job for you to jump at that point in time?
I think it was the coaches that I worked with prior to getting the job at Syracuse, right? Hats off to all of them. I thought they all taught me something in their own way, right? And I picked up a lot from all those guys, from Steve Adazio to Matt Rule, Rod Carey, Greg Schiano, big help. And then I have an opportunity, though, of working at Georgia with Kirby Smart and his staff. It was, I was like ready. You know, it's like a time where you're ready, you think you don't know, but it was like, all right, cool. Like, I'm ready to go do this. I'm from up there. I'm dominating the Northeast in recruiting right now at the University of Georgia. And it's not a soul that can play in the Northeast that I don't know about, right? Or not being known. So it's like, okay, let me go do it. I'm 4 hours from home. I understand the language here. I understand the culture, the style, just everything there. And I felt as though with the toughness in my mentality of who I am and all the things that I was able to inherit from all of the previous head coaches that I work with, I just felt as though I was ready to go out and do it now. You know, tried to get a job 2 other times and it didn't work. I'm so happy it didn't. I should tell that AD, I owe him a dinner when I see him, dinner on me for not hiring me at the other spot where I tried to get that job. But then coming here was just right fit, right place, good people. All these dudes like Jim Brown, Floyd Little, McNabb, you know, Ernie Davis, Marvin Harrison, Dwight Freeney, you know what I'm saying, Donovan Darius. I mean, the list goes on and on forever. So, like, I have an opportunity of being here. Like, me and Kevin Johnson, who was a great player here, I could call him when I want. Me and Keith Bullock became, like, that's my homie, you know what I'm saying? So, like, being able to come here and understanding the culture, understanding the past, Tim Green and guys of that nature, the four-wheelers that they have 4 D linemen on one team that all got to play in the league for a few years in a row. So, like, me understanding and knowing that, like, that's what I was trying to get back to, right? And I'm excited about that and understand that this is where I belong. Like, you know, this is where God gave me an opportunity to be at. And I'm still so thankful. Like, I'm so thankful and so happy that the fans just accepted me with open arms. The alumni accepted me with open arms. And I'll just do anything it takes to win. Like, you know, the right way, right? But I just want to win. Like, I'm just trying to dominate February right now.
We love that, Coach. I mean, we're trying to dominate February on our side too over here in the studio. You mentioned Kirby Smart, and everyone's probably asked you, like, "Hey, what'd you take from Kirby? What'd you learn at Georgia?" I want to ask you a different question. What's been the thing that you have taken from Georgia and maybe tweaked it and made your own over there at Syracuse?
A lot of stuff. Like, mainly our program is that program. So, like, a lot of stuff. I'm just me, right? I'm not Kirby, right? I don't have the IQ that Kirby has football-wise yet, right? He's done a lot of stuff football-wise. But I'm me. I got my own style, and my style fits where I'm at, right? Like, I really feel Earth's my turf, so I could go anywhere, and I'm going to fit in no matter where I'm at, right? So when I was at Georgia, I made sure I fit in well there by still being me, right? When I'm in Cali and I hang with my peoples out there, Pinky and those dudes of that nature, I fit in with those guys out there, right? No matter where I go. When I was in Texas, I fit in when I was at Bella. So, like, it just doesn't matter on myself. But everything that we do is similar to what they've done at Georgia, right? And it's a couple things at the other places, but I'm focused on, like, I want a national championship, right? So I want to do that again, right? I'm back to back to back. Should have been 3 in a row. You know, I mean, different things. I feel that was a really bad call that messed us up. But when you're just looking at those things, I don't know. Everything I do is what I learned from those guys at Georgia, and not just from Kirby Smart, from Bobo, from of course Muschamp, Glenn Schumann, the whole defensive staff I work with, Trey, Tadari. Like, I had so many great dudes that I work with, competing with Brian McClendon every day, the receiver coach. I mean, it was just like iron sharpen iron, right? And we would compete, like, back and forth. I'm talking trash, he would talk trash, and we got our players into it. And I just want our staff to be like we came here and we got that same mentality now. know what I'm saying? That's what it is. Like, we just brung it up here, just moved it to be different. But I love the way he structured practice, meetings. He held everyone accountable, which is something I'm able to do. So that means a lot, you know. So I'm running my program very similar to the way Coach Ryan is.
So how does that work for you? You mentioned talking trash as a coordinator, as a position coach. You're able to do that because you have one side of the football. But for you now as the head coach, like, are you talking trash to McCord if he does a pick? Are you talking trash to the defense if they get burned? Like, how does that work now for you being the CEO of this whole operation when it comes to mixing it up during practice?
It's the same thing. I still coach the corners, right? So I'm talking trash to the wideouts, but I get to coach them up too every day. So I'm talking trash to them by me coaching the corners, getting on Kyle. When Kyle done things, it'll be somebody else. I'm coming at him vice versa doing it. The offensive coaches will be talking stuff to me. We compete. I mean, I don't stop. Like, it don't matter. And then I know who we need to get at that day that we get better, right? Or to keep pushing them. I'm competitive. I just told Coach Ross when we came in this morning, him and Coach Maddox, we come in with Coach, good morning. I said, don't get morning me, and we going to bust your ass this February. You try to be my boy. Ain't no friends. Watch how we outwork y'all, right? It's I just want to compete, right? I want to have fun. Everything is competitive. Everything we do is competitive. From recruiting to getting in the building on time, to who's working out the most in the building. Like, just everything we do is like competitive as a staff. And then I think that infiltrates into our players, right? And it's mainly is dart, right? Are you detailed, accountable, relentless, and tough? And if you are dart, then the rest of it makes itself work.
And where did that come from, Coach? Because you obviously have mentioned that a few times during different interviews and press conferences. When did dart come to be?
Just something that I grew to be able to want those traits throughout my life. And I think, like, for me to be detailed, which I haven't always been, I had to become accountable. I had to become really relentless and tough. I think I've always been tough and I've always been relentless, but I didn't always hold myself accountable to a certain standard. And as I started to understand different standards at different places, the standard continuously rises. I started to do that and hold myself accountable first and foremost. Be able to look in the mirror and say, you were wrong, you messed that up. You did this, that happened that way. And I think when you do those three things, you're able to be detailed about everything that you do. So I just look at it and said, all right, dart. In a dart, you want to hit the bullseye, right? So to be able to do that, to be able to hit the ball, I need to be detailed. I need to be accountable, relentless, and tough. But in all aspects of my life, though, right? Starting with my faith. I'm a faith-driven man. I fear God. That's the beginning of life, right? That knowledge. I fear God, so I'm faith-driven. I understand and I know that, and that's first. Then I make sure that I do that with my family, right? With my wife, because she holds me accountable that I better give her time, right? I better do all those things. She doesn't care if I'm out recruiting for 4 days in a row. You're not on the phone with me, what the hell's up, right? So I'm being held accountable there, talking to my sons, continuing to grow them as men while doing the same thing with our players. And then athletically, academically, I just try to make sure that I'm being dart in all aspects of my life. Then I teach the players that because they can take this with them for the rest of their lives. So, like, dart is one thing. Anybody could say, yeah, I'm dart, I'm missing that. But I always go off of CCT, which is committed, care, and trust. Are you committed to dart? Right? You ain't got to tell me. Your action's going to show me that. Do you care? Right? And I could just watch and just see, like, you ain't got to tell me. Your action's going to show me. And can I trust you? You know what I trust? What you do daily. So, like, all three of those actions are going to show me if you committed, because anybody can come in and say, dart, detailed, accountability, relentless, tough. Man, sit your ass down. You've been late for class every day. So that's not you, right? Ain't nobody trying to hear all that you talking. That's not who you are. You saying all this just to say it. Like, don't give me the company line talk. Like, I'm trying to see what you're about. If you saying all this, you have 15 classes to go to. You were late 7 times. We came to the class and I seen you sitting in the back of the class with your headsets on 3 times. So how do you expect me to think that you're going to come play for me and do everything right football-wise, right? And so it's just a different ballgame. It don't work that way.
And Coach, I think everything you're saying resonates with a lot of, like, football people that, you know, grew up in whether it's high school football or little league football, like the core principles of what have made successful football teams. And as we're moving into this new era of college football with the portal and NIL, the conversation around all those core principles seems to be almost drifting? I mean, coaches seem maybe scared to be quite as hard on their players. How do you keep those same core principles, the CCT and DART and all those things, in the new age where players can transfer tomorrow if they don't like the way that you're talking to them?
Man, we got rules. You got to follow the rules. If I start bending my rules for you and allow you to do it, then I'm going to do that for everybody. And the moment I become a sucker, I'm no longer Fran Brown. Those dudes that be doing that, they suckers, man. They be bending for, man, nobody doing that. These the rules. Like, I'm from Camden, New Jersey, so I grew up with certain principles, right? There's morals. There's a certain way you grow up. You can't disrespect or go against the grain if that's what y'all say you're doing. When you signed here, you knew what I said we was doing. So, like, when you don't follow those things, there's consequences for it. I'm not about to break my rules, and then my name gonna be on all of that. That's messed up. Like, I'm not trying to be, Milli Vanilli, one-hit wonder. Like, I ain't going out like that. So, like, everything that we got rules. I could care less how you feel about hitting the portal because I coached you too. Like, I was coming at you and I was very, very aggressive with the way that I'm coaching you because you wasn't in class or because you didn't do that or you did. Listen, I'm only going to come at you when you're late, when you don't show up, when you did something wrong or that, right? Of course, everybody's on time to practice. They all do that. But I'm worrying about the other stuff that don't require talent. Like, why you didn't go to breakfast and dinner when it's mandatory? It don't require talent to get your butt up and go eat breakfast and dinner. Get up and go in there and do it. So, like, if you don't do that, like, how you expect me to play you? And then your people calling me, but you was late for class and then you doing this, but they telling me you a baller. Okay, they ain't gonna ball on my time and mess my money up, right? Because everybody be like, hey, I don't do this for money. You know how coaches say, I would coach for free. I love the game so much. I ain't coaching for free. I'll go coach Little League for free. It's quick hours. I'm in and out. I got too much time in this building all day. I'm doing all this stuff. I'm not doing this for free. So you gonna do this the way that we need this to be done as a staff? Nothing's bigger than the S. At Syracuse, nothing bigger than the S. And that go for me. There would great coaches before me. That makes sense? Like, they won a national championship here in 1959. Amazing coach, Coach Swart. Right? You look at Pascalone, you look at all the other Doug Marrone. There was so many coaches here that done so many great things. So, like, who am I to come in here and pick and choose and try to bend these rules to go do it? I have one goal that I want to accomplish here, football-wise, win a national championship. First thing I want to do is get every single young man closer with their faith, starting with coaches and players. Second thing, develop men daily. The third thing, we got one in addicts.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, like, what you coaching for? Like, everybody, all this other stuff, what you coach? But a lot of coaches won't stick to that, so they make it easy for another kid to come because they want to talk to them while they're at my school, or they acting this, or they mom calling you because the baby is a little, man, coach be acting mean to me. So they mom called the other coach, so then he's soft. He takes the call and then starts saying, we might be able to get him. He doesn't want to be coached hard, dog. Why the freak are you talking to her? Why are you condoning this? You a sucker too. So that's why we certain coaches, when I know they did weak stuff, I don't talk to you. You're a sucker. Like, it's like, what you doing, man? You messing the game up. Now you're going to let him come there and you're going to transfer again. Unless you're just going to let him get away with what he want to get away with, right? You look at all the teams that won real big, like that won a championship, they got a certain way that they going about stuff, right? They got a certain way they doing things. And that was at Georgia, they did that. This year, Ohio State, Ryan Day and them did that. There's a certain way that they do things. And I think that's where championships are built because of the organization and the culture y'all have, not because of, hey, we got to be a little more lenient to him because he doesn't do that. Like, hey, we did that in recruiting and I'm going to keep talking to you, but you told me to help you become a man. So I'm going to show you how to be a man. You don't want me to, I'm not about to coddle you, right? I can't make you feel good. You're my wife. I want to tell you the truth, dog, right? 100% the truth. I tell her the truth too. But I'm just saying, like, it's all about just truthful and honesty, and some kids can't stand constructive criticism. So we just try to be more like that on a daily basis.
I mean, that in itself is almost just what I mentioned, almost like a throwback approach, which, I mean, we on this show love and think we need more of in college football. And speaking of throwback, you also said at your opening presser something that kind of is aligned with that. Like, every coach that has some success, they're always looking at the next job, right? Even if you have a big job, you're looking at the next job. You said at your opening presser, like, hey, man, I'm here for life. Like, I don't need to switch jobs. I'm here. I'm committed here. What made you want to say that at the opening presser?
I feel like I'm going to do everything that I need, and I think that financially they're going to pay me the way I need to continuously get paid. And I feel that we can win a national championship here. I know I'm gonna handle my end of the deal. I feel we have the ability here, our administration, our board of trustees. I think they'll always handle that end of the deal. So if we all handling our end of the deal, why would I leave? There's really no need in me being able to go anywhere because I know who I am. My name and my word is all I got. Everything else you can take from me. But I'm Fran Brown Sr. If I mess my name up, Fran Brown Jr. is already freaked up in the world. So I'm going to handle my part, and then I feel they're going to handle their part. So me understanding and knowing what the administration, the board of trustees, all the guys that I talk to, and now we on the same page, so I feel they'll do it. Now, if they want to renege, and different things happen, but I don't think they'll renege. I mean, of course, I know I'm not going to renege.
Well, I got to ask you this. You've known Kyle McCord since he was in middle school. When did you know he was a little bit different? Because obviously he ends up following you to Syracuse. Give me the Kyle McCord, not origin story, but essentially a story when you knew, hey, this guy might be a little bit of a different cat.
So I knew he was different when he was in middle school. Like when they was all playing, going to watch the game, I'm like, oh, snap, he could play. Right, cool. But then he go to high school and he does it again. College, of course, it was Stroud and all those dudes like that, right? He got out of Ohio State. So I think Ryan Day does a good job developing a quarterback. So, like, he didn't get to play. But then when he played, I was watching the games, and I'm like, well, he's doing good. Certain things he could do. But when he came here with us, and we started to work out, and the first day when the workouts, we was doing, like, this push-up competition and all this, he just wouldn't fall. And it meant everything to him. And he did that workout like it was all he had. And at that moment, I knew he was going to be really, really well and help us win a lot of games. It was just, oh, snap. It wasn't even a snap. It was, oh, shit, this kid different. Right? It was like, dang, he different. I bet. And man, we're just like communication and talking and just going through everything and just his desire to win and his dedication to being great, to winning. Like, he exemplifies dark. He is detailed. He's accountable. Kid is relentless and he's tough. And he did it every day. He held everybody accountable in practice, right? And I think that's where he and I got along so well because we held everybody accountable, right? And you can't come to practice and slack when you got a guy that got that kind of brains, right? Quarterback on point, right? It just helps you like go and become a better. I mean, just me personally, y'all, I'm excited about everybody in the draft. None of them better than him, man. You know, like none of those dudes could play quarterback better than him. Like the stuff that he does, I hear the people they saying, and I don't want to bring none of their names up, but he won against one of the best at the head. He won, right? I'll see what happened at the what's that East-West Shrine. Dominated that. I was trying to tell somebody that he should have been in the Senior Bowl. They want to tell me he wasn't going to be picked, right? He's not a draft pick. So, like, he was tripping. He was drunk probably when he was talking to me. So, like, I'm sitting there looking at all that stuff. So now it's like, yo, like, what we talking about? Like, look at it, right? The kid is intelligent. He can throw. And when he want to run, he can run. But he can extend plays better than anyone else to make sure that he continues to get the pass off. Then he done an amazing job of his just trigger figure. Look how quick he gets the ball out, right? Not a lot of guys getting the ball out that quick, and he's not getting it out because we tell him, hey, throw it to the hits, throw this. He's getting it out because he can read defenses, right? And so, like, I'm not really sure. In the NFL, he's the perfect cue because you got to get rid of the ball fast. Hold it if you want. You got D ends that's running full forward, right? You got Michael Parsons on your ass. So, like, let you hold the ball you want, right? It might be your last play. So, I mean, unless you got a couple freak shows, but look, Lamar Jackson getting rid of that ball quick. He just happened to can run, but his trigger figure this year was like one of the better ones that I've seen in a long time. So when you start to look at it, I don't know why Kyle wouldn't be an early draft pick, in my opinion. And, I've been watching football a long time. Do I know as much as all these other guys know? You guys are Google because y'all got it all. Makes sense. But all I'm saying is look at when he competed against everybody. Look what he done. Outside of one game, that was an off night for the entire organization. Like we had an off night. Outside of that, homie was pretty big, right? I think he got the all-time passing yards in this conference. Great conference, right? Deshaun Watson and all those dudes played in this conference. He threw 35 touchdown passes. I mean, that's like legit. 4,700 yards, 35 touchdown passes. I mean, That's why when he was like, Coach, do I come back? I said, what would you do if you was me? He asked me that. I said, if I was you, I'm going to the league. What? With that? Man, you better get out of here. So, I mean, this kid is, he was that loyal, though. That's the type of dude he is. He wanted to stay for me, right? And it's like, no, you got to go do that because they haven't seen nothing like this in a while, man. This kid is different, man. He's a good kid, too. He's a really, really good kid. I love that kid, and he loves his teammates, and that's why everybody loves him.
Coach, last question for you. We appreciate all your time, man. You mentioned that last game of the year. Obviously, you beat Miami, and Clemson benefits from that. And you say post-game, hey, Dabo, got you in. He ever check in with you? Ever send you a gift basket or a thank you text or anything?
Yeah, that's my boy, Coach Dabo. He over here. He cool. You know what? He was one of the. So I just always remember everything. When I got the head job, and they got like the what is it called? The head coaches convention in the summer or something like that. I forget what it's called. But I went in there. I didn't really know what to take because I don't really be talking to a bunch of dudes unless I know them. And he just came over right away and was like, hey, friend, I'm proud of you. You've done a good job. Follows your career. Whether he was just saying it to say it, but it was very like, dang, that's what's up, coach. And if you need anything, friend, you call me, right? And then I would just call him and ask him different stuff. So he's been showing me the ropes, right? And just doing those things like that. He's a straightforward dude, but he was laughing and he called me and we joked about it and stuff like that. Said something to his team, but he's a good dude, man. You know, good guy. I like what he stands for. We're both faith-driven men, right? Family men, both of us. So, we got a lot in common, right? A whole lot in common. He's a good dude, man. I like who he is, what he stands for, and I love what he's done with that program, man. And, that guy has 2 national championships. Great football coach, and I'm hoping to have Syracuse follow that path for what he's been able to do there.
Well, Coach, we're excited to follow you this season. We appreciate all your time. We just appreciate the way you go about your business and the way that Syracuse operates. We're fans of it. We're not journalists here. We're fans, so we appreciate what you do and excited to watch all get after it this spring.
Tell Rusty I said what's up.
Will do, Coach.
Go on. Be safe.
Yes, sir.